You can have the best camera, the best binoculars, and the best surveillance skills in the world, but if you're driving the wrong vehicle, none of it matters. Your surveillance car can make or break an investigation before it ever begins. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what I look for after more than 30 years of surveillance work. Selecting the proper vehicle can make or break you when it comes to surveillance. Hi, welcome back. And if you are new to the channel, I'm Jamie Shepard, and I have been a licensed private investigator in Florida for more than 30 years. I am sharing my thoughts, tricks, and tips I have learned over the years to help develop better private investigators. Now, let's get into my advice on the surveillance vehicle.
If Hollywood has taught you anything about surveillance vehicles, forget it. The white cargo van, the black Crown Victoria, the detective hiding behind dark sunglasses, they make for great television, but they'll get you noticed in the real world. Real surveillance is about blending in, not standing out. When I'm shopping for a surveillance vehicle, these are the things I look for. You don't need every one of them, but the more boxes you can check, the better your chances of staying unnoticed. We will start off with the exterior color. I suggest that you stay away from bright or unusual colors. Definite colors to avoid are red, yellow, orange, mint green, purple, light blue, custom colors, and in most cases, white. More desirable colors are black, darker grays, navy, and beige. Stay away from two-toned vehicles. Now let's discuss the preferred interior colors. Darker colors are best, as objects inside the vehicle are less detectable and have less reflection on windows. Light colors like beige can cast impressions on the windows when you are filming. Best vehicle models include sedans, small to medium SUVs, and minivans. Some coupes are okay as long as they are not sports cars. No convertibles, no luxury brands, no customized vehicles. Trucks can be good in some areas, and we will get into that in a minute. The age of surveillance vehicles is important as well. Most vehicles that are less than 10 or 12 years old work best. Older than that, and some people will look at them for nostalgia or as an antique. Either way, you can stick out. The next suggestion is to be sure your vehicle is common. In order to fit in and be invisible, you should have a vehicle that is familiar in your area of the country or your environment. Think about the vehicles that you see a lot of on the road during your travels. Those are good surveillance vehicles. Try to stay away from brand new models because they tend to draw more attention. As I said in an earlier section, trucks can be perfect in some situations. They can be great around construction zones or farm country. However, in the bigger cities, trucks are less likely to fit in. I would recommend having more than one surveillance vehicle and each one a different type of vehicle. As an example, one sedan and one SUV, or a sedan and a truck, and equip them both for surveillance. My wife drives a small SUV, and I have a sedan as my primary surveillance vehicle. If it seems like I may start becoming noticed with my primary vehicle, the next day I will use my wife's vehicle to mix it up. Being plain is a plus. Keep your vehicle free of any identifying materials like bumper stickers, stickers on the windshield, or front license plates where they are not needed. Be wary of the design of front radiator grills as well. The less modifications to the outside of the vehicle, the better. As a side note, I once received a resume from a man who started his own PI business, but he wasn't getting much work. After some further discussion, he sent me a picture of his surveillance vehicle, which was a Ford Mustang, with stripes down the top of it. But that wasn't even the worst part. On the back window of the vehicle, there was a large white vinyl sticker displaying the name of his PI business. I guess he was thinking about advertising, but that is not the vehicle you should use for surveillance. Needless to say, he did not get the job. Your surveillance vehicle should be damage-free, especially in the front portion of the vehicle. The most observed part of your vehicle to a surveillance subject will likely be the front of your vehicle. You don't want them looking in their rear-view mirror all day long and see the same oil change sticker on your windshield. If they see the sticker on one side of town, then 3 hours later they see it again on another side of town, you have a much better chance of being detected. Regarding cleanliness, I advise investigators to keep the outside of your vehicle clean. Not spotless, not filthy, just ordinarily clean. A vehicle that's freshly waxed every day can be just as memorable as one covered in mud, especially in rural areas. One thing that I cannot stress enough, though, is to have spotless windows, inside and out. Nothing is more frustrating than seeing video documentation taken through a dirty window. It makes you look unprepared and quite amateurish. I'm going to back up a bit here and talk about the headlights of your vehicle. Most vehicles today have daytime running lamps. Several years ago, they weren't as common, but now they're everywhere. Unfortunately, you cannot turn most of them off in newer models. And that's okay these days. However, one thing I would suggest is to be mindful of the style or design of the daytime running lights. Some are in weird shapes. The current Hyundai Santa Fe comes to mind. The daytime running lamps are designed in the shape of an H. That would seem to stick out a bit to me. On another note, regarding headlights, check to see if your daytime running lamps stay on once you have put the vehicle into park. This is important when you're following someone to a location and have to stop quickly to obtain video. Having the lights on while parked can draw more attention than if the lights were off, and it looks just like a parked vehicle. I did own one vehicle where the headlights did not go out when I put the vehicle in park. However, when I put the parking brake on, they went out. So I had to get used to putting the parking brake on when I stopped anywhere. Now let's talk about fuel economy. You will put a lot of miles on your surveillance vehicle, so fuel efficiency is important. However, it is not the only consideration you should make. Most investigators focus on the purchase price of a vehicle. I focus on the operating cost and the pickup speed. You have to weigh the fuel consumption against your ability to catch up to subjects, and sometimes that can be tricky. I prefer a lighter vehicle that has a 4-cylinder turbo motor or a 6-cylinder motor with good acceleration. These types of vehicles seem to be a happy medium for me. One thing I don't think enough surveillance investigators talk about is maintaining vehicle reliability. Most people don't give it much thought until they're sitting on the side of the road with a broken down vehicle and missing an assignment. The reality is that your vehicle is one of the most important pieces of equipment you own. If it isn't reliable, you can't do your job. The good news is that most investigative agencies will either reimburse you for your mileage or pay you a daily vehicle allowance. But don't make the mistake of looking at that money as extra income. Your vehicle is going to rack up a tremendous number of miles, and with those miles come expenses. You're going to be paying for more frequent oil changes, tire replacements, brake work, transmission services, batteries, and all of the other maintenance that comes with driving tens of thousands of miles each year. And don't forget, it's not just about mileage. Surveillance vehicles often spend hours idling while you're watching a location or waiting for a subject to move. Even when the vehicle isn't traveling down the road, the engine is still running, the air conditioning is working, and components are still wearing out. Those engine hours add up much faster than many investigators realize. Here's one piece of advice I've given investigators for years. When you receive your mileage reimbursement, don't spend all of it. Take at least half of that money and move it into a separate maintenance account. That way, when your vehicle needs tires, brakes, or a major repair, the money is already there. You're not delaying maintenance because you're waiting on your next paycheck, and you're far less likely to suffer a preventable breakdown that takes you out of service. Your vehicle makes you money. Treat it like the business asset that it is. Invest in maintaining it, and it will serve you well for many years. I promise you'll be glad you did. Vehicle technology is getting more and more advanced each year. Although these newer vehicle functions are not definitive for surveillance, they will greatly assist you in your investigations. Consider Bluetooth connectivity for hands-free use of your phone, GPS navigation, if not using a smartphone, blind spot monitoring for safe lane changing, a backup camera for quick turnaround and parking, adaptive cruise control for longer interstate rides, and Apple CarPlay or Android Auto for using apps on your car screen. Depending on the state where you live, your vehicle may be required to display a license plate on both the front and rear, or just on the rear. Regardless of your state's requirements, there are a few things I recommend avoiding if you plan to use your vehicle for surveillance. First, never use a personalized license plate. Custom plates are much easier for someone to remember if they become suspicious. Instead of trying to recall a random combination of letters and numbers, they'll remember something unique, and that makes your vehicle much easier to identify later. I also recommend staying away from specialty license plates that support charities, universities, military service, sports teams, or personal causes. While there's nothing wrong with them, they make your vehicle more distinctive. and distinctive is the last thing you want during surveillance. The same goes for license plate frames. Whether they advertise a dealership, a favorite sports team, or your alma mater, they add another identifying feature to your vehicle. Finally, avoid placing stickers on or around your license plate. Anything that makes your vehicle easier to recognize or remember works against you. Like I have said, when it comes to surveillance, your goal is simple: make your vehicle as ordinary and forgettable as possible. One of the best investments you can make in a surveillance vehicle is quality window tint. Of course, always stay within the legal limits for your state, but properly tinted windows can make a tremendous difference during surveillance. In some states, like mine, a private investigator is exempt from tint regulation statutes. However, you can still be stopped by an officer. Good window tint makes it much harder for people outside the vehicle to see you sitting inside, especially when you're parked for long periods of time conducting stationary surveillance. It also helps reduce glare on your windows, making it easier for you to observe your surroundings without constantly repositioning yourself. Another major benefit is heat reduction. If you've ever spent hours inside a vehicle during the summer, you already know how valuable that can be. I recommend modern ceramic window tint whenever possible. Ceramic films can reduce heat transfer by as much as 75%, helping keep the interior cooler and making those long surveillance sessions much more comfortable. One final tip: avoid older metallic window tints if you can. While they do provide privacy, some metallic films can interfere with GPS, navigation systems, cell phone reception, and other wireless signals. Ceramic tint provides excellent heat rejection without causing those problems, making it the better choice for most surveillance investigators. And the last area I wanted to touch on with regards to your surveillance vehicle is emergencies and investigative preparedness. One of the most overlooked aspects of surveillance is simply being prepared for the unexpected. A minor problem with your vehicle can quickly turn into a missed opportunity or even a lost assignment. Here are a few items that I keep in my vehicle and never leave home without. There will be links to some of these items below in the description. A jump starter. A portable jump starter is worth every penny. I've had to use mine more than once. During long surveillance sessions, you may run your vehicle's fan without the engine to stay cool. If your battery dies, you don't want to lose your surveillance or wait for roadside assistance. A jump starter can get you back on the road in minutes. A temporary tire sealer. I learned this lesson the hard way. I once picked up a screw in my tire while working near a construction site. Without a temporary repair, I had to leave the area and missed valuable surveillance opportunities for the rest of the day. Since then, I always keep 1 or 2 cans of tire sealant in my vehicle. A portable tire inflator. Carry either a 12-volt tire inflator that plugs into your vehicle or a rechargeable model. Many newer portable jump starters even include a built-in air compressor, giving you 2 emergency tools in one compact unit. A basic toolkit. You don't need a full mechanic's toolbox, just a small kit with the essentials to handle minor problems that could otherwise interrupt your day. Self-fusing silicone repair tape. This is one of those items that most people never think about until they need it. Self-fusing silicone repair tape doesn't use adhesive. Instead, it bonds to itself when stretched and wrapped tightly around a damaged component. It can provide a temporary repair for split heater hoses, small coolant hose leaks, damaged vacuum lines, and even cracked plastic or rubber components. While it isn't intended to replace a permanent repair, it can often get you safely through the remainder of a surveillance assignment and back home without calling a tow truck. It takes up almost no space in your vehicle, costs very little, and can easily save you hundreds of dollars, not to mention preventing you from missing an important surveillance opportunity. A flashlight. A quality flashlight is indispensable. I recommend one with an adjustable beam so you can switch between a wide floodlight and a focused beam depending on the situation. A first aid kit. Hopefully you'll never need it, but a basic first aid kit is inexpensive insurance for minor cuts, scrapes, headaches, or other small medical issues that can happen during a long day in the field. An umbrella and rain gear. Weather changes quickly, and surveillance doesn't stop just because it starts raining. Staying dry also helps you remain focused and professional. Extra clothing and shoes. Always carry several changes of clothing and footwear. I also carry several different types of hats, caps, and shoes. Early in my career, I made the mistake of dressing for the morning instead of the entire day. It was cool outside, so I wore jeans. By afternoon, the weather had warmed considerably, and I followed my subject to the beach. Unfortunately, I had no shorts or sandals with me, and I stood out far more than I wanted to. Since then, I've kept several clothing options in my vehicle: casual clothes for parks and beaches, business casual attire for offices and restaurants, and even nicer clothing for upscale locations. On one occasion, I followed a subject to an upscale restaurant where she worked. Because I had a polo shirt and nicer pants in my vehicle, I changed clothes, walked in like any other customer, enjoyed a meal, and quietly captured excellent video throughout the evening. I blended in perfectly because I was dressed for the environment. Window cleaner and paper towels. Keep your windows spotless inside and out. Rain, dust, and dirt roads can quickly reduce visibility and video quality. Clean your windshield regularly, but don't forget your side windows and rear glass. There may be times when you need to move into the back seat to record through a different window, and you'll want every piece of glass to be clean. Power management. Reliable power is essential during surveillance, especially when you may spend an entire day operating cameras, phones, laptops, hotspots, and other electronic equipment. Your surveillance vehicle should have multiple USB charging ports so you can charge several devices at the same time. Avoid relying on a single factory installed USB port. A quality multi port charger allows you to keep your phone, camera batteries, power banks, and other equipment charged and ready for use. You should also consider carrying a power inverter. A power inverter converts the vehicle's 12-volt DC power into standard 120-volt AC power, allowing you to use or charge equipment that normally plugs into a household electrical outlet. Some newer vehicles have a built-in 120-volt outlet, while others require a portable inverter that connects to the vehicle's power outlet or battery. Always confirm that the inverter is rated for the equipment you intend to use. Higher powered devices may exceed the capacity of a basic plug-in inverter. I recommend at least a 300-watt converter to power most devices, like your laptop. Also remember that extended use can drain the vehicle's battery, particularly when the engine is not running. Monitor your power usage carefully so that your equipment remains operational without leaving you with a dead vehicle battery. One item that doesn't get enough attention is a small portable power bank. These inexpensive battery packs can be a lifesaver during a long surveillance assignment. Think about how many devices you're relying on throughout the day: your cell phone, wireless microphone, hotspot, flashlight, or even a small hidden camera. If one of those batteries dies at the wrong time, you could miss the most important event of the day. I recommend carrying at least one or two compact power banks that are fully charged before every assignment. They're small enough to fit in a camera bag or even a pocket, and they let you recharge your equipment without having to start your vehicle or search for an electrical outlet. A dead battery shouldn't be the reason you miss critical evidence. For such a small investment, a quality power bank is one of the simplest pieces of backup equipment you can carry. My primary rechargeable power pack is a OHO Viv portable charger power bank, but I also have a solar-powered rechargeable battery pack for when I may be away from a power source for extended time. I recommend the Blavor solar power bank. Links to these items are available in the description below. After more than 30 years in the business, I have learned that a good rule of thumb is to make sure that your vehicle is so ordinary that no one would remember it 5 seconds after seeing it. Remember this: your surveillance vehicle isn't there to impress anyone. Its job is to be invisible. If someone remembers your car, you've already made a mistake. I'd love to hear from the experienced investigators watching. What's the best surveillance vehicle you've ever owned? Leave it in the comments below. If you're new to investigations, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel, because in the next videos I'm going to cover surveillance equipment, stationary surveillance, mobile surveillance, foot surveillance, and dozens of techniques that took me decades to learn. Till next time, I'm Jamie Shepard. Thank you for watching PI Vanguard.